Episode 1 The Hard Way, October 6th, 2025. Start off my stuff like that. I can't have first off, this is going to be very hypocritical. I can't have a title because I didn't verify my account, and I'm doing this the hard way, technically. Funny. Anyways, the reason I was saying the hard way originally, and I titled it this, is instead of optimizing technology, we've gone about duct taping more money to it, which is not ideal, but it does work, which is really concerning at the least. But something I was thinking about. Um, there's something that happened in the fast food industry. You go in to get your food at some places, and they set it on a counter, like on the side, a different counter, and they just make your order and throw it over there, and nobody cares. That's it. So we sent someone to get an order. This was like months back. I had worked at some place where we all wanted to get an order from some other place. So we go there to get it, and the order wasn't there. They're like, "Yo, where's our order?" Uh, Somebody else probably took it. We're like, "Well, what do you want us to do? Like, we ordered food, it's not here." They're like, we'll just make more of it, I guess." So then the person picking up the order had to wait till they made the order a second time because somebody else took it. I'm like, that is hilarious. And when you think through the numbers on that, because at first you're like, that's ridiculous. Why would they do this? Think through the numbers. How much did that meal cost to replace? I'm like, well, probably $10. How much would it have cost to have somebody watching that table? Well, that would have been $15 an hour. Then if something doesn't get taken, $15 an hour, but the costs lost be zero. We wouldn't have to worry about it. So it would start adding up really quickly, having a special person to deal with those orders. But having an order get stolen and replacing it would be just a small dent, and then they would move on. And so, monetarily speaking, it made more sense for them to not care about the orders, screw over a couple customers here and there, and just say, somebody stole it, oh well. And such a weird business model because I'm like, well, shouldn't you take care of your customers and shouldn't you watch your orders and make sure stuff isn't stolen or people don't take the wrong order? Just weird. It was actually smarter for them to ignore it. You just look at money. Obviously, I think it's wrong, but the moral point, I think it's wrong to screw your customers over. I think it's wrong to treat people that way. I think it's wrong to have a system that you're like, we'll just leave it there and see what happens because it's too expensive to pay somebody from a company that's making plenty of money. It's just greed at its finest, what it is. And yeah, that's what happens. So, anyways, being the hard way with these AIs that they're building, nobody's discussed optimizing the AI building system, whatever you call it, the way that we do it. I remember when I first looked into that, they were talking about like cascading pipelines. So basically, a whole list of stuff that it would have to go through and like check off this and use this thing to. It's like almost imagine if you had like way back in the day, they had these games where you would have to guess the person. Like, do they have glasses? Nope. They have hair. Nope. So you'd have to like pick up the different traits like that. That's a little bit closer to how AI was designed. They'll go through and just say, well, is this an image or a text? And it's like, okay, it's an image. Okay, how many pixels does it have? Okay, what are the average colors of pixels? And are there any pixels that match the other pixel groups of what we considered a shape? And a lot of that was built that way. So it goes down like a massive, massive checklist of little tiny checks and balances to decide whether or not something is, I don't know, part of a group, I guess. And then it figures out from there, okay, this is a picture of this stuff, and it goes in this category. And then when it builds a picture, it tries to do it the opposite way. It tries to say, well, let's jam it all together. But it doesn't do it in layers. When a human builds a picture, I think they build it in layers. It's very much, here's the basis. I'm sorry, my cat's losing his stuff in the background. Here's the basis of the picture. We think like, okay, sketch, let's do an outline. Let's kind of get the main general idea of what it's going to look like. Shapes and forms, large shapes and large forms. And then we do a layer on top of that maybe, and we say, okay, let's start to get some of the features put in, and let's do a little bit more shading to kind of determine the depth of some of these shapes and like where there's going to be darkness and light. And you kind of, at least when you do faces, that's a very general way that I would do it. And some people do it without the outlines and stuff. They just start with like blending and they're like, all right, let's do cheeks and eyes. And there's a couple of cool techniques for that. But the main idea is that you do it in layers. You have to at least use your brain to think, well, what's the general shape going to be? If you don't have a size, then it's like you can't do anything. Even if you look at a piece of paper, you're at least sizing up that paper. You know, if you have a massive notebook, you're just going to probably write bigger because it's massive. And if you have a tiny little notebook, you're going to have to write smaller. You're not going to put one letter on one page and flip the page and put the next letter. Wouldn't make sense. It's how we do stuff. When it comes to AI, they just don't have a system for optimizing. And like they're starting to get toward that, but man, is it slow and it is really badly done. And when I had first gotten into thinking about AI, 2014, I was thinking about optimization. I was thinking about I don't have a computer fast enough to process the stuff that I would like to do. So instead of doing, these massive databases and being like, ha ha ha, had to build a data center the size of Texas in order to process all this crap. I was thinking, well, how do we compress data like a human would? So I was thinking about, well, your eye doesn't necessarily 1080 pixel full image read everything all at once. So a computer shouldn't do that. So I was like, well, maybe we could like kind of average out sections of pixels and get a basic shape and then look closer and sort of focus on areas that we want to pull details and extract data from those details. And that was originally how I wanted to design the AI that I was working on. I thought, well, that would be a really good way to do that because it keeps everything concise. So you're getting exact data. You're not getting like this, what would you say, this giant list of duct taped information. But, anyways, so to come back to sort of a full circle on discussion there, with those corporations doing the food pickup and saying, well, it would just make more sense to just throw money at it. That's kind of what happened with the AI thing. They were like, well, we can build a robot and it's really inefficient and it's really not doing the job right. And it's getting there, but it is way just a pile of crap. And they're like, well, what if we duct tape another one on top of it? And I'm like, that's so bad. Like design wise, that is so wrong in so many ways. Like imagine you got a Corvette and you're like, it's not fast enough. What if we put another V8 in the same Corvette instead of optimizing and tuning the engine? It's like, well, I suppose if you had enough money, you could do that, but it'd be smarter just to tune the engine. And then they're like, well, what if we put six more V8s on it? I'm like, yeah, I suppose. You're probably going to break the transmission. They're like, we'll put a second transmission. And it's like, okay. So at some point, you just have a mountain of Corvettes all tied together. And they're like, we got 1 billion horsepower. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Yeah, you do, technically. Like, and it's just, that's what they've done with AI. They've just duct taped it over and over and over and just piled more money on it. And at some point, I was thinking about this and I'm like, you know what? I guess it's going to work. And I believe that they have enough duct taped crap and massive mega data centers that they're finally going to reach the point of creating new iterations using AI generated coding. And it's going to perpetuate this optimization. And eventually, the AI itself is going to be like, you idiots, you could just optimize it instead of duct taping more money to it. But sure. But these corporations are going about it the hard way. And honestly, in hindsight, it is definitive. With optimization, you have a lot of let's try this out, kind of guess and check. You don't have a good timeline. But with duct taping money to it, they've created this, what would you say, perpetuating system where it brings in money and investors, and then it brings in attention, and then they get this massive data center and they take over a whole state, and then everybody's upset about it, brings more attention to it. It's actually just getting bigger and bigger. And the bigger it gets, the bigger it'll get. It just keeps going. So, anyways, moving forward, uh, it could be optimized. That's all I'm saying. They could have done it cleaner. They could have done it without all the massive data centers and just throwing billions of dollars at it. But they will get there. They're still making progress, as dumb as it seems and unoptimized as it seems, especially from a development standpoint. From somebody who works on like small developments, small games, immersive environments, stuff like that. There's a specialty hidden in the optimization where you learn how to build optimized systems. And I feel like the AI builders bypassed all this. They were like, why don't we build this massive system that just compiles a bunch of data? And then they're like, it doesn't do it fast enough. What if we built a more massive system to compile even more data? And they just kept going with that one. It's like every board meeting, instead of someone being like, hey, we should optimize these systems and here's an idea of how we could make this cleaner and more efficient. They just had like, Jeff on the other side of the table being like, why don't we duct tape more money to it? And they were like, yes, promote that guy. We need to duct tape all the money to it. And so now we have a whole bunch of the biggest corporations in existence that have ever been on the face of the planet, all fighting and competing for what state they're going to destroy in order to build these massive warehouses to basically house computing, what they're housing. Because they didn't build efficient systems, they built bigger systems, larger systems. They were like, duct tape another Corvette engine to it. That'll make it faster. And yeah, sadly, I believe at this point, it's the only way forward. The only way forward for this, because for them to stop and try to learn it and optimize it, they're too slow. They're too inefficient, and they've been betting on the duct taping stuff together for so long now that I don't think they're capable of optimizing the system. I think AI will be capable of optimizing the systems better than the entire corporation. And it's really sad, because it's like, in turn, we're going to destroy entire ecosystems. We're going to be wiping out entire beautiful states. We're going to be completely destroying the economy. I mean, we're creating basically third world countries within states where data centers are going to turn it into a war zone. It's going to look like a bomb went off there. It's going to look like, oh man, like it's just leveled. There's nothing left. Nobody will have any money. Like the entire population in a 100-mile radius is just going to be working there because there's no other jobs. Everything else will be destroyed. It's just sad. But eventually we'll learn, and we'll learn the hard way, right? Until next time.